he really said it. This is not just about extending our lifespan, but our health span, you know, because the truth is, right now in our culture, we're not necessarily living longer, we're dying longer, you know, and we're just kind of just limping our way to the finish line when we have so many incredible examples of what's possible with people thriving.
This week, our show is brought to you by our partner in crime, Organifi. Organifi is an organic superfood supplement line that makes quality, trusted nutrition convenient and accessible. Their most popular product, green juice, can supercharge your life, restore that glow, and help you feel decades younger in just 30 seconds per day without having to worry about shopping for ingredients, mixing and blending them, and then cleaning up afterwards. All ingredients are USDA organic, vegan-friendly, and made without GMO ingredients, gluten, or soy. Where else can you get superfoods like chlorella, moringa, spirulina, wheatgrass, ashwagandha, and turmeric, just to name a few? So make sure you guys check it out at www.organifi.com/success. That's ORGANIFI.com/success.
I wake up every single day. I am who I say I am. And I get what I get because I live in beast mode. Stop being gazelles. You're not average. You're not even good. You were born to be great.
What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Secret to Success podcast. I'm your host, CJ, joined as always by the Bayesian sensation, the Traverse City sensation.
Let's go.
What's happening?
Let's go. The Michigan sensation this time, man. Just enjoying some time up north with the family. Blessed, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. We got Dr. King in the building. He's there. Just execute. What's happening? He got the new cam. You know what I'm saying? Looking good.
Hey, the muscles a little different with this camera.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
HD
No
coming
doubt.
at you,
I ain't
baby.
gonna lie to you. It was dark. I couldn't see your muscles, but how you doing all that working out if it's gonna look like this? But like I can see it with the tattoo. I see
With
it.
the extra Vaseline on them.
Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we got Dr. Douglas holding it down in studio, man. Hey, I want to apologize. This is the first time I haven't been in the studio in quite some time.
In a minute.
I feel bad about it, so bad that I'm catching a flight next week. I don't know when you leave from Atlanta, but I think I'm going to just fly back with you. And
Okay,
we can,
I'll show you my hookup right now.
Yeah, you do what?
5.
Huh?
I leave at 2:55 p.m.
Leaving from Atlanta.
Yeah, going back to Grand Rapids.
On what, Tuesday?
4. Yeah, we'll land
Tuesday?
at 4.
What day?
Monday.
Wait, you come in and leave the same day?
Same day, bro. We back. We back in
Oh,
these
wow. You ain't say that.
We back in these like it used to be. Hit it out, baby. Hit it out.
Hey.
Savage.
We also have another family member in the building. Can't call him a guest no more. Y'all know who he is. The one and only. My friend, my dog, Mr. Sean Stevenson. What's happening?
What's good? What's good?
Oh, man. Good to have you, bro. Good to have you.
Hey, Sean, I know you got something to talk about, but I want to talk about the Delta variant at some point.
Hey,
I ain't talked about that all year. But whenever I see Sean, I feel like I want to talk about this kind of stuff.
Hey, before we do that, we do have another member, the mini mighty, almost a week from second grade, Carlos Quinney III.
Let's go.
Second grade.
Let's go.
The second grade.
Hey guys, welcome to Trey's Comedy Corner.
What's up,
What's up,
Trey?
Neff? Welcome back.
What did Tennessee?
What did Tennessee?
Same thing, Arkansas.
Oh,
Bars. Comedy bars.
Let's go.
All right.
same thing, Arkansas. I know that's right.
Hey, man, I want to formally apologize to the bros on the podcast. I had a bad showing in pregame. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting ready to make it up. I'm about to start firing from deep just to make it up. I don't know what happened. I'm going to blame Kale, actually. So shout out to Kale. I'm going to blame him. He went and took my camera and all my stuff to go record somebody else. And then you know how it is. He brought it back and set it down and ain't nothing working. So
He didn't care how you brought it back.
Oh, bro, I'm saying like I came back. I'm like, it's not plugged in. I called Carl. He like, nah, you good. This plug in the video. I said, Kel, I don't think it's like that. I had to FaceTime Carl. So,
Typical flight attendant, bro.
oh, flight attendant.
Hey, I've done that to people all my life. I get so hyped about what I need to do. I ain't checking your settings. I don't know how I got it, where I got it from. I don't put it back the way I found it.
Hey, I literally don't like my kids know they can get beat for coming in this room without me being in. Like, don't touch nothing. That's how I keep from looking like Maul. You know what I'm saying? Frustrated.
Looking like Maul. Hey, hold on, y'all. I'm not even. You know what? Hey. See,
42 minutes, Maul.
Bro, he was 40. Actually, I timed it, bro. It was 41 minutes, dog. That he was trying to get it together.
Trifling, Maul said he actually recorded the time.
And truth be told, he probably still ain't got it together right now. So,
okay, man, with friends like this, Sean, who needs enemies? You know what I'm saying? Hey, I will say this, Sean. You had to let us know. So Maul and I again have beef every time it comes to what to keep the temperature on when you go to sleep. So we're just gonna get this out the way. Maul thinks that it's appropriate to have the heat. I say heat on 80 degrees when you go to sleep.
I don't. He capped. Oh
okay,
my
so
God.
let me be honest with you. We ran into Miami. We had to go to Miami the other day. Okay, and so I said, we're just going for the night. We, keep each other accountable. Everybody in their room sleep. So we just got the 2 queen beds. So I turned the air on 71. And I'm going to sleep.
Oh, Cap, it was 60 something, bro.
No.
It was in the 60s. Oh, it was in the 60s.
70 all day.
It was in the 60s, see?
Me and E used to have this. Hey,
it was in the 60s.
The only reason I used to let E win, because I told you, E would be like, hey, C, I think if you got the air on, it mess up my throat.
It's going to mess with the voice.
That's how cold it is, Sean. I wake up
it's so cold.
Hey, bro, my whole
Okay, Sean. So let me just say this.
Can you finish painting the picture, though? Can you finish painting the picture?
No. So I woke up in the middle of the night. Maul was over there acting like, man, it's too cold. I'm about to die. So I went and turned it up to 73, 74.
But what was it before?
It was on 70.
No, it was in this. Oh, see, he just said before it was 71. Now he say 70.
I'm saying
it was like 63. It was cold, bro.
It definitely wasn't 63.
You saw air coming about the vents. It was cold.
So when I go to sleep at night in my house, it's at 74, 75 during the day. And when we go to sleep, it's at about 70 degrees. Now, can you let us know for optimal sleep temperature? You know what I'm saying? Where should we be? Because Maul about to blow out his internal organs.
Hold on now. Sean, I will say, Sean.
Sean's book.
Sean, I will say this. So you know about degenerative disc disease. You know about different arthritis and things like that. So when your bones get cold, certain things take place and it doesn't feel right when you wake up. So I like to keep my muscles nice and warm.
So
hey, that sounds like something else you compensating for.
Right.
That ain't the air, bro.
Oh my God.
Okay, Sean, help us out.
Okay, so first of all, we've got to acknowledge everybody is unique. That's the first thing. Maybe Jamal's lineage, his tribe was with.
Speak on it, Sean. Speak on it.
A little bit more.
I'm 100% Zulu.
My wife is from Africa. She's from Kenya, and she even yesterday she had a damn space heater by her here in sunny California.
In California,
it's a problem.
Wow.
All right, now, but here's the thing. I've got clinical evidence and testing on this stuff, so I know the data. Because there's one thing to perceive something is wrong versus it actually being wrong. All right, it's all about perception. And so we also got to acknowledge Jamal's body fat is probably a little bit less. He doesn't have as much insulation as the normal guy. You know what I mean?
Now you're preaching.
These are some more of these metabolic individuality factors.
So what's E's excuse?
All right, now here's
no. We're talking to you right now.
No, what's E's excuse? You know what I'm saying? He got to be about on the same body fat level. Me and E went to dinner together. I know what he ate.
Well, here's what the science says. All right, so every single human. Now, no matter where we live on the planet, there's going to be a fluctuation between the temperature during the day in your environment and the temperature at night. The temperature in the evening is naturally going to go down. If we were living in a normal setting, which the way that we live today is very abnormal from the perspective of our genes, all right? Just because we can get, these fancy beds and buildings and control the temperature, our bodies still haven't really adjusted to that. And so every single day, there's a natural drop in our core body temperature in the evening. It's how we evolved to facilitate sleep. All right, that temperature drop facilitates us going through our sleep cycle effectively. All right, so this is a natural thing. So the environment would be a little bit cooler in the evening. Now, with that said, we've taken folks, and even with clinical insomnia, so these are like really clinically diagnosed sleep problems, very difficult time sleeping. There's a couple of things that we've done. So one of the most interesting things that we did recently was analyze data of taking folks who have clinical insomnia and making their body a little bit cooler when they go to sleep. So one of these studies, we put cooling caps on top of these people's heads and then allowing them to, basically tracking their objective sleep metrics. So watching their brain waves and analyzing even their blood work and things like that, seeing what happens with their cortisol levels. And simply by cooling off their head, just 1 degree, was able to normalize the sleep for about 70% of the participants with clinical sleep problems. So literally in one night, effectively, I'm not going to say curing their insomnia, but objectively analyzing their sleep, it improves so much just by cooling off their head. And so what we've seen consistently is that folks who have clinical insomnia, they tend to run hotter in the evening than the average person. So it's their ability, and here's the word, this is the word to take away, it's called thermoregulation. So their body's ability to regulate their temperature effectively is a little bit broken, but not to say that it can't be fixed. So fitting them with cooling caps. Another test, put them in cooling bodysuits, and it dropped their skin surface temperature, again, just by 1 degree, and was able to improve their sleep efficiency and their sleep quality. All right, so we got to acknowledge it's going to be a little bit better for you to have a cooler environment in the evening. Doesn't mean you can't have your comforter, but you know how it feels, that other side of the pillow. It's always cooler on the other side of the pillow. It feels good when that hits you. It's like, oh, that's nice. You know, so we've got what I would recommend for folks who tend to be a little bit hyper cold is to allow yourself to be conditioned a little bit more and adaptable in the environment. Because for my wife, for example, she's quick to try and change the temperature. If she gets a little bit cold, she tries to warm up. If she gets a little bit too hot, she tries to cool down. Instead of letting her body be able to adjust and be more human, all right? And no disrespect to my wife. I'm not saying she's not human, not being not human. But that's our natural tendency, is always seeking comfort. When in reality, again, in the evening especially, you do want to allow your body drop the temperature a little bit. We settled on, for me, I would drop it down maybe to 68. You know what I mean? Where she would probably keep it maybe 73, 74. But she's found, and we've tested this, her sleep quality improves when the environment is cooler, period. She just has to allow herself to get adjusted.
All right. But that settles it, Maul. You just going to have to learn to adjust.
No. You just missed out on everything he said, bro.
That's what he
different
said.
body
Say
types,
you sleep
different
better
types.
when it's cooler.
That's not true. He
Hey,
just
Maul.
said for a person with less body fat. Come on now. Listen to what he's saying.
That's the only part Maul heard in the whole thing.
No.
He
The only part
swole.
you heard was about his wife. But he did all.
Deflecting, Ma. What C is doing is called deflecting.
Yeah, he always deflects.
He said you sleep better when it's cooler. It found that you actually have
And
better sleep in cooler temperatures.
It could just
Bro,
be
he said with
slightly
natural,
cooler.
but listen,
It depends
CJ
on the
has a
person.
fan blowing right on him.
Oh, yeah,
he
for sure.
cannot go to sleep without a fan blowing on him. So that's not the natural room temperature. You're not allowing your body to adjust naturally.
Hey, listen, you also got to acknowledge C and I are mixed too. So
That's fair.
I acknowledge it. Like I said, it was
there's
68.
a temperature thing with that too.
That's a fact,
being a
Sean.
little bit
That's a
more
fact.
friendly with the cold. And I don't like to acknowledge
It's
it.
not mixed. And I'm about to get, my throat about to get blew out.
Waking up with a stuffy nose. Oh,
70 degrees? Hey, we not here to talk about y'all clowns. We're here to talk about my dog. We got the reprint. Listen, that joint went so crazy. I was in Target. I bought one while it was in Target. Like the first day it came out, I went back about a week later and them jokers was gone. I mean, all of them. So, Sean, man, congrats, bro. I mean, just a phenomenal read, phenomenal book. I had to go take this from my wife. I grabbed it. She was like, "Why are you taking my book?" And I was like, "I'm just taking it to the podcast. Relax, I give it back." Congratulations, though, bro. Tell us about it, man. How's it been? I mean, the success on the book has obviously been
bruh,
crazy. Yeah, come on, talk to us.
Let's go. You know, the book came out right at the turn of the year. So it came out December 29th, 2020, right on the cusp, transitioning into this new year. And for me, the mission has always been to get folks educated, but also feeling empowered and understanding for all of us, you know, our favorite teachers are the ones who brought stuff to life, you know, and making it engaging, making it fun. And so bringing that into health, which for all of us, whether we realize it or not, we're interested in health. It's just, how do we flip that switch for people to make it more of a conscious effort and intention? And so I put the book out during a time when folks are worried about their health, but they're not getting educated on what they can actually do proactively to be healthier. You know, it's a big part of the conversation that's really been left out. And so when the book came out, it was a #1 new release of all books in the United States, fiction and nonfiction.
Come on.
All right. Crazy, man. And me being from where I'm from Ferguson, Missouri, Southside, St. Louis. This is where I grew up. And to see this, and I worked at Target, you know, mentioning Target. I worked at Target when I was in high school, you know, just struggling, trying to do something that nobody in my family had really done before, you know, being able to go to college. The only people that I met that ever went to college were my teachers. You know what I mean? So I'm coming from an environment where you don't typically see situations like this take place. And so to have the #1 book in the country, it was a great thing, but there was parallel with the problem, which oftentimes happens where people don't see this stuff behind the scenes. Because of the demand for the books, is sold out within 5 days, which sounds great superficially, but this is not like a concert venue where it's because of capacity. We want books to be available. And it was a pipeline issue with, you know, COVID and, you know, people not working. And E was just talking about this before we got started. There's this habitual thing that's been magnified now where people just don't want to do their jobs. And we got to understand people are never going to care as much as you do about what you got to get done and also about your gift and your product. And so I would have helicoptered in, jumped out of parachuted in to the printing company and got the books printed if it was up to me. You know, I'd do whatever it takes. But everybody's pointing the finger different directions, like the Looney Tunes, you know. I just watched Space Jam 2 the other day, so it's just on my mind. But I thought it was pretty dope, man. You know, I mean, the technology piece allowed LeBron James' terrible acting to be covered up. You know what I mean? But shout out to the king. Shout out to the king, though.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Sean, so I enjoyed it. Obviously, thoroughly. I read it a while ago. I want to touch on some things, and I'll let the fellas jump in there. I think the first thing that stood out was just, you know, right off the cuff, you talking about your own upbringing and relationship with food, and kind of, you know, you grew up, you know, with the chicken nugget ministry going on at all times, and your grandparents and the way that they fed you and things of that nature. Can you talk about how important conditioning is from that young age? All of us, you know, except E now, have young kids who we're trying to make sure have that good balance between, you know, still being a kid and, you know, obviously being healthy. Can you talk about your own conditioning coming up and kind of how that shaped your environment with food?
Absolutely. So, you know, our lives often give us these incredible gifts, but in a moment, we don't really realize that it's happening. And so for one of the reasons I feel I'm able to connect with so many different people from different places is all the different environments that I grew up in. You know, I grew up in 2 very distinct environments. One environment was with my grandmother, who I highlighted in the book, because it was really my formative experience of coming online and being aware. You know, so from kindergarten to 2nd grade, a lot of our habits are really getting laid down because you also have the social structure taking place with school. And so I live with my grandmother, and this is the white side of my family. And this is in the early 80s. So I'm still very rare. Like there's not people that look like me. It's a white neighborhood. The school is probably 90 to 95% white. and there's this little light-skinned kid, and just dealing with those kind of structural situations. But also my grandmother, she wanted me to be happy, which is for a lot of us, like we just want the kid to eat something, make sure we get these calories in there. And we're not thinking in terms of this food is actually creating their tissues, or this food is creating their brain cells. These foods are creating their immune cells. She just wants me to eat and be happy. And so she really expressed her love. Food is a love language, in different domains. And she was expressing love through food. Right. And so for her, it's just like letting the kid eat whatever he wants, And so, I was on that fish, you said chicken nugget ministry, the fish nugget, pulpit. I was in there with the fries. That was my daily thing. Taking the sandwich to school, the white bread, bologna, some cheese.
And the other thing, the other thing is too, Sean, and I'm, E and I talked about it. he backslid something fierce this last week. I had to get on him. He was. I
was trying to figure out what he was talking about, but no, I ain't backslid. That was on purpose, Sean.
Hey, listen, and I mean this in all seriousness. Like, he was in Atlanta and then he was in Houston. All right, so you got food just galore, right? But in all seriousness, one of the things, Sean, you're talking about, kind of like how and I wonder if and maybe Sean, if it's like this in other cultures, but like, I didn't even think about it till you said it. And shout out to Bobby Patton, who was in one of my speakers, who talked about it before too. But he was like, "Yo, he struggles with the weight loss, and now he's a weight loss coach and things of that nature." But he talked about how every occasion is kind of like centered around food. It's like, okay, you got an A in school, pizza party. All right, it's your birthday, chocolate cake. It's your wedding, come eat. It's like in even American funerals. Culture, even funerals, right? Exactly. Ironically, we having the same food at the funeral that half the time killed the person in the casket. But well,
same thing in the hospital. Same thing in the hospital.
Right.
So it's the culture.
Yeah, exactly. So I was going to say, can you talk to us about that? And are there other cultures? Yeah. Now I know there are, other cultures that got the same vibe, but I didn't even think about it. Like, it's tough for people to lose weight because it's like every time what do you do in this culture to celebrate an achievement other than go eat? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
it's like,
right.
Even for my kids, it's like, oh, we did this. Can we go to Chick-fil-A? Or, you know what I mean? Like, how did that start? And then have you found a way to kind of counteract that with your family? And give us some suggestions as men raising families.
Yeah. Throughout our evolution, food has always been a part of celebration. People getting together and having a feast. However, today, what it really is that's so abnormal is the types of foods that we feast on. That's what it is. A big part of life and being here and enjoying life is enjoying food. Food tastes good so that we eat it. But the problem is today, food manufacturers have taken advantage of this innate desire by humans to eat things that taste good. And so it's not the problem of celebrating with food. It's the issue of what foods we're celebrating with. And so being in that environment that I mentioned early on, I'm getting my neural association to food, to being what's highly refined and processed foods. And my grandmother, here's the crazy part. This is the craziest part. She had a garden. My grandfather was a hunter. He would forage and collect, wild foods. But he had high blood pressure. And which, again, even the science on that is very different from back then in the early 80s on what even constitutes high blood pressure. He was also, aggressive as well, angry. Your disposition can change your biochemistry. Some people respond and their blood pressure gets elevated just going into the doctor. So here's the thing. So the doctor advised him to change his diet radically based on unproven science, which was for him to get off of natural whole food fats and to start using partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. So processed fats in the form of these highly refined seed oils, which Country Crock was the thing that came on the scenes, and so he shifted his diet over and he went from having high blood pressure to having multiple open heart surgeries following the nutrition advice given to him by conventional medicine, which is not, the education there is so, even to this day, it's sad that it's not a big part of the training because, again, I know the top cardiologists, top immunologists, top neurologists, these are all my friends and colleagues. They tell me firsthand over and over and over again how little they learned about food. And they're literally, a cardiologist is studying, his focus is heart health. If you don't understand that the heart is literally made from food, the cells up within your arteries, your blood cells, it's all made from food. And if you don't understand that, you literally don't even know what you're dealing with. You don't even understand the organ that you're treating because you don't understand that it's made from the food that this person is eating. And so there's a big schism in our education right now with that. And so here's the bottom line with this point. So I'm in that environment. Then I go to live with my mother in the inner city, complete culture change. Now I'm going from, taking my little lunch box to school, and I'm eating all these processed foods that I want, to now I'm on a free lunch program, and I've already got my quote picky eating habits, and I'm taking this with me. So now I'm just not eating a lot because my mom's like, you're going to eat these black eyed peas, or you're not going to get up. You're going to eat these greens. I was just like, I'm not doing it. She was like, you're going to sit at this table till you eat. They're going to fall asleep before I do. You know what I mean? So I would wait her out, and they relented to continue allowing me to eat the way that I was eating. And so I carried those habits into adulthood, which, I think I might have shared this with you guys before, but I didn't eat a salad until I was 25 years old. It was the first time I ever ate a salad. And, me being this renowned health expert, with this national best-selling book and international best-selling, sleep book, it sounds like a far-fetched story, but it's very true. And living in Ferguson, most of my years here on planet Earth, I lived in Ferguson, Florissant, Missouri. When I step foot outside my apartment complex, the first thing that I see is a liquor store. Then from there, Chinese food place, but not like a nice Chinese food restaurant. This is like bulletproof glass Chinese food,
right.
And there's Taco Bell, Papa John's, Domino's, Arby's, McDonald's, Burger King. This is just within a mile radius. Steak and Shake, Krispy Kreme, another Chinese food restaurant, Pasta House if you want to get fancy, is right there on that parking lot. Jack in the Box, Wendy's. Whole Foods didn't exist to me. I didn't know what that was. I had no concept of what that was. There wasn't any gyms in my neighborhood. There weren't even any community centers. The one that was there was closed down long ago. And so you got to go outside of the environment just to find an environment or a culture that's supportive of health. So I'm born into conditions where, one, we're selectively being educated and told to eat processed foods by, governing forces of health. And then the other environment that I grew up in was one that was creating a situation of oppression to where my access, even if I wanted to be healthier, I didn't even have exposure or know what that looked like. All right. So that's kind of the situation that a lot of people are living in here in the United States right now and other places around the world as well. And why I'm such a big advocate. This is a big reason why I wrote Eat Smarter, was to get these ideas into the hands of people who normally don't get access, and to give a voice to people who normally don't get to voice these things out and call for action to change these things.
Yeah, my last question. Let me get one more, Carl, and I'll pass it to you. I promise. Sean, one of the things that people ask me, when you're talking to Sean, ask him. Somebody will be like, "Man, I got 2 kids and they're twins, and I feed them both the exact same thing, and they go to bed at the exact same time. They do it, and then one may be borderline obese and the other one's a twig. How much of our natural kind of predisposition or genetic predisposition is what it is, and then how much of it is okay, your diet and the exercise and things of that nature? Because it just seems contradictory to what we would think. It's okay, you got 2 kids, you feed them the same thing, they do the same thing. And one of my homie's sons is literally he's a little butterball, and his twin brother is I'm talking about slim, athletic, and it's he was like, yo, I literally watched them eat. I've fed them everything since they were born. How is it possible that one is so overweight and one seems to, can't keep anything on?
This is a perfect question, man. And this is what I'm going to share. This is one of the most remarkable things that we are now aware of. Mm-hmm. And I actually talked about this in Eat Smarter. I don't know if you happen to see this part yet, but there was a study that was conducted by researchers.
I just thought it would be better if I asked it from
go.
A personal way.
Scenario.
I'm a real host, Sean. I don't just want to be on the page. You know what I'm saying? So try to give you that alley-oop where D Wade, when he would just look back knowing Brown dunked it.
Hey, they did that reenactment in Space Jam, by the way.
I saw it. Very dope. Very
So this was conducted by researchers at St. Louis University, you know, in my hometown, and they did an analysis of identical twins, and you don't get any closer to it. We're talking about genetic similarity than somebody who's coming from the same egg. All right, they're double yolking. All right, they're coming out the same genetic blueprint essentially, and what they discovered was that when one twin has a microbiome cascade. So we're talking about the array of bacteria that's located in their gut. When we're talking about the gut microbiome, by the way, there's microbiomes every place in your body. There's a gut microbiome, there's a lung, you have a lung microbiome, you have a skin microbiome, but the gut microbiome specifically. And what we know now in my clinical practice, I could have somebody, I could send them out to get a stool sample or send off for a stool sample, and I can get their report back. And I can determine with extreme level of accuracy whether or not they're obese based on their gut bacteria without me ever even laying eyes on them a day in my life. All right. Because we know today that there's a certain bacteria cascade that's associated with diabetes, insulin resistance, and obesity. So it's not 100% the case because the microbiome changes so frequently. You know, honestly, if you sneeze, your microbiome is going to change a little bit. You know, it's very fluid and changing, but there is kind of a baseline temperature that it's going to be at. And so what they found was that when we have two identical twins, and they had a large database, a set of this, and seeing this consistently, and one twin has a microbiome that's associated with obesity and diabetes and insulin resistance, versus the other twin who has a microbiome associated with leanness, even though they're in the same household, eating the same diet, one twin has a much higher propensity towards becoming obese than the twin with the bacteria cascade associated with leanness. So the point is this: one of the most cutting edge places of science that we now understand, which this has been going on, our ancestors knew about this stuff. We're just using modern science to affirm what they already knew. We have a symbiotic relationship with the things that live in and on our bodies, namely these microbes. And your microbiome, your gut bacteria makeup, is going to determine to a large degree how many calories your body is absorbing from the food. For example, it's going to determine your assimilation of nutrients. It's going to determine the production of nutrients because your microbes are also making compounds in you for you, or they can also be making more toxicity and causing things to kind of get gummed up like hormonal clogs. This association, what's happening with our gut inside of our bodies, is a major player that's often overlooked when people are on these cookie cutter calorie cutting diets and not understanding. And people, I've seen it, people coming in, they're trying hard. They don't cut their calories to 1,000 a day. And if we cut it any low, like they're literally starving themselves sometimes, and the scales stop moving. And this is because we're looking at things with caloric tunnel vision and not understanding there are so many other players that control what calories do in your body.
What up, fam? It's your boy ETARESPECT. Find out what it means to me. That's right. Aretha Franklin, the movie, is coming out, y'all, starring Jennifer Hudson. All right. It follows the rise of Aretha Franklin's career from a child singing in her father's church to her international stardom. Now, here's what's crazy. Aretha handpicked Jennifer Hudson to portray her in the film. All right. Now, this is the remarkable true story of Aretha Franklin's journey to find her voice and never lose her faith. Her music, as y'all know, I'm from Motown, baby, has shaped a generation. She topped music charts with anthems that are still relevant today. From Think, You Better Think About What You're Trying to Do. Again, RESPECT. Find out what it means to me. And of course, Amazing Grace. Jennifer Hudson performed all her songs live, and they demand to be experienced in a theater. All-star cast: Forrest Whitaker, Marlon Wayans, Audra McDonald, Mark Maroon, Titus Burgess, and Mary J. Blige. See Respect, only in theaters, August 13th.
Go ahead, Carl. Sorry.
Sean, no. And see, you actually can weigh in on this too, Sean. Like for real. Like we know the fact that information is not enough. And I said see because like both of you guys have gone through like a drastic shift in like, okay, I'm not gonna take this anymore. I'm not gonna settle for, what's around me, what's available. And I really want to talk to that group of people, Sean, because for real, the system is set up against you, right? For some of us, Sean, our biology is set up against us. You know what I mean? Like, let me say it like this. It don't even taste good, some of the stuff. It don't even taste as good. Like, you can't substitute meat. It don't taste like meat. Like, what does it really take for somebody other than life-threatening? You know what I mean? Like, how do we really get people to take action? That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, how do we really get people? Because for real, we are eating ourselves to death. And y'all forgive me if I feel passionate about this, but it's like I'm sick of watching people eat themselves to death. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is something that we could fix. A lot of diseases, Sean, we can fix, but it seems like information is not enough. Like, what can we say to them?
Yeah, thank you, man. Let me highlight where we are right now as a society. Here in the United States, we got somewhere in the ballpark of, just north of 330 million people here. 242 million of our citizens are either overweight or obese right now. All right. We can't even understand the magnitude of that. 130 million of our citizens are diabetic or pre-diabetic right now. 60% of our citizens already have some degree of heart disease. 115 million Americans are regularly sleep deprived. I can go on and on with these tragic statistics, and you would think like we just got to come up with a drug to save everybody, a cure. 70% of our citizens are already on pharmaceutical drugs. We are the most drug culture in the history of the world. We're also the sickest nation in the history of the world. And so we are at the magnitude of the situation is severe. And the question is, how did we get here? And also, just to address your question as well, what do we do to get out of it? Now, we already know how we got here. Our genes expect us, our DNA expect us to eat real things, real food we've evolved eating. We're eating shit that's literally just made up. It's just made up in a laboratory. All right. And our body is going to innately rebel because it's exposed to something that is so abnormal. And one of the outpicturings of obesity, for example, in a sense, our bodies is actually trying to protect us with these evoking a different disease. It's trying to find a way to operate differently for us to survive. That's how resilient the human body is. We're incredibly resilient. But this is where we get into a place of surviving versus thriving and being the best that we can possibly be. And so how do we actually address this? What do we need to do about this? Well, the first thing, it goes back to what Jamal has said so many times. It's really about exposure. Exposure is the most powerful tool in this. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know that I didn't know that it mattered. I didn't know the difference between food. I didn't know the difference between, the red hot riplets that I would get from the store, and, some broccoli. It's just food. It's just stuff you eat. I didn't know that it made a difference, except when, you think about somebody, quote, overeating and them gaining weight, right? That's the only outpicturing that I saw. It's just like, you eat too much, you need to do some push-ups or whatever. I work out, I'm made of, supersized fries and Big Mac juice. That's what I'm made of. But I'm just like, I think that fitness is the same as health because I looked fit when I was a kid. I was an athlete.
Right.
And performing at a high level, but also the onset of something, it's a ticking time bomb because I'm making my tissues out of these very abnormal things, right? So it's understanding that we need exposure with these things. Once I understood that I get to choose what I make my body out of and that there's a difference, it like flipped the light bulb on for me. And so now here's the other part. And you just said it too. We're seeing our friends and family eat themselves into an early grave. I've lost so many people, man. It's why I do the work that I'm doing. I've lost too many people from different ramifications that are also connected to the way that they eat. Whether it's from depression, whether it's from heart disease, whether it's from cancer. And also in my clinical work, I've seen so much, but I've also seen some of the most amazing things that you would think are miracles. In many ways they are, but we're just using that label to describe something that is accessible to all of us once we get in alignment with what is real, And so here's a couple of the pieces of the solution. Number one, that's the overarching umbrella is exposure. And number two is just tapping into principles of simplicity. Science is complicated, but the principles are very simple. So what are the things that we can provide for our bodies and our tissues so that we can get everything online and working together as a beautiful symphony, versus, we got all these different, some parts of your body over here playing, some reggaeton, and some over here playing some, I don't know, some Uncle Luke, whatever. Like, it's not, it might vibe together, but we want to get everything together in a symphony.
Hey, Sean, could I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just about to just ask you something, man, because my trainers, I'm working out. I got 2 different trainers, right? I got my strength trainer. He comes to the house every single morning, and this guy, he's Mr. Olympia as far as for powerlifting, and he's always telling me to take protein. He gives me the type of protein over the counter from GNC type protein, right? And he wants me to take it. But then now I have this ab specialist who comes to my house, and he only works on like my core. And he's really big, like, oh man, leave that stuff alone. Here, you need to eat several chicken breasts. You need to eat this. He wants me to get more natural proteins. I'm kind of torn in between the middle. I'm stuck. And I said I was gonna call you and ask you, like, which one, is there a real difference? Is 32 grams of protein still 32 grams of protein, no matter if it's from powder or it's from actual chicken breast or some type of protein? Like, can you speak on that?
Yeah,
I'm kind of lost.
Or if it's from Organifi, Sean.
Right.
But I mean, but is it the same? You know what I'm saying? Is it the same? Even Organifi has the veggies and all the greens.
Yeah.
Are you getting, and I mean, I'm all for Organifi, but are you getting 100% the same? Because my trainer in the morning, he's like, get the powder. The other one's like, do it natural.
So this is a great question, because in our conventional education, a calorie is a calorie. A nutrient is a nutrient. And so in my university education that I paid for this education, I was taught, for example, that we just need to make sure that patients get a certain array of these different micronutrients, end of story. They just need to make sure that they're, monitoring their calories in a certain way, end of story. Not mentioning, again, what I shared a little bit earlier, the microbiome and how that's regulating, controlling so much of the equation, completely left out of the picture. But also, for example, when I was taught I need to make sure that people getting adequate amounts of vitamin C, what kind? There's multiple types of vitamin C, for example. There are whole food forms of vitamin C. There are synthetic versions of vitamin C, but even with that, there's multiple forms. Same thing with magnesium. There's multiple forms of magnesium. There's magnesium sulfate, there's magnesium stearate, there's magnesium citrate. There's multiple types. How do I know which one? And I can tell you, and this is the answer, and kind of that conflict that you would experience is, it's going to be found in food first, because that's what your body has the longest association. Your genes, the genes that you have, Jamal, they're not just your genes. Those are from your ancestors. They've been through stuff to get you to the place that you are. And our bodies have adapted to a certain way of eating, certain types of food that have an association with reality and light and nature. And so within that food, you're probably going to find an array of different forms of that magnesium, an array of different forms of those amino acids. So food, there's an intelligence there that is able to interact with the intelligence of our cells. And the further that we get, here's the key, I want to be clear, not to say that we can't use supplemental forms of these things. But even with that, we want to lean to, is this food-based, even if it's a supplement? So the protein supplement, is this coming at least close to a whole food version of where it's coming from? If you look at whey protein, for example, Hippocrates, who's considered the father of modern medicine, he used whey. He called it serum, all right, way back in the day. And he was using it to help to heal a myriad of different health conditions, from skin issues to protein deficiencies and, people experiencing sarcopenia where they're losing muscle. So we have documentation of things like this, but what is the quality even? Where's the whey coming from? Is it coming from a sick animal? Because it's not just you are what you eat, it's you are what you ate. All right. And in Eat Smarter, and I actually direct people to a video, because seeing is believing with this. A lot of folks don't realize that most of the cattle that's being utilized for dairy and for meat here in this country, they're fed such an abnormal diet that they proactively give them antibiotics. But that's only a small reason why they give them antibiotics, to defend against diseases that we're causing them. But the reason that antibiotics are given, most of the antibiotics used in the United States, about 80%, are used in cattle and not for humans, is that there was a study that I detailed in Eat Smarter that found conclusively that antibiotics help them to gain weight faster. All right. So it actually accelerates weight gain, not just for them, but for us. But the question is why? How can antibiotics do that? It's because it's destroying the microbiome. All right. So I hope that answers the question. It's a bigger picture view it is. Yeah.
Is that good or bad, Sean, that it's destroying it?
Our microbiome is synonymous with life. So this is something that we don't want to destroy. If we look at it like this, look at your microbiome, your gut microbiome is what we're talking about specifically, like a rainforest, right? And so within that rainforest, there's going to be diversity. There's going to be an ecosystem that works together, that has symbiotic relationships. Different things are keeping other things in check. Different things are providing different outpicturing for the environment. But when you start to have endangered species or certain species get extinct, it can throw off the whole environment itself. It can devastate the environment. And something that might have been kept in check, maybe it's a certain type of pathogen. If we're going back to the gut microbiome itself, now because the other microbes that weren't able to keep it in check, this pathogen is rising. And the outpicturing of that might not be, oftentimes it's not digestive issues. It can be skin problems. It can be your high blood pressure. It can be, arthritis showing up, and we attribute it to something else. And we take a drug to mask the symptom, not understanding that this might even have a root in my microbiome and my ability to absorb nutrients and my ability to help to manage all the different things that the microbiome is doing for us.
Yeah, no, quick question. And this is super helpful, man. Hopefully everybody out there, you're getting something out of this because, we do a lot of laughing and joking on this podcast, but one thing that we all try to do, and y'all don't see, is our accountability group every single day. We have our workouts posted. We have our, we take pictures of our food, except for, it's most of the time for good, to encourage. Although I don't know what he was doing the other day, sending pictures.
Hey, Sean, between me and C, I show all mine. Some of them don't show all my stuff.
I only show the salad.
I don't play with mine, Sean. I eat.
Watch out, E.
Hey, they try to just some of us just try to show you.
Oh, 100%.
Hey, E. CJ only showing the papers. CJ only showing the papers. He got 100 on.
That's it.
I show all my stuff, Sean. I don't play with you.
Hey, why would I show anything else? You know what I'm saying?
Play with mine, Sean.
But I say that to say, all right, so, I think I've said it a million times, but I generally follow a ketogenic diet, right? Like I found out, like that's just what works for me, right? Like I feel better when I'm not eating a bunch of bread. I feel better when even like, people like, doing, just eat the whole grain. Like, I don't know. My body feels like it's running at its optimal level when I'm eating a ketogenic diet. So tonight, if we have chicken breast, I'm gonna do the chicken breast and the salad. I'm gonna leave out I don't need a breadstick with it. I don't need any of that. Like I've been following that since about Trey was born. So my wife, she always sees like, okay, now we gone. Like we were gone. We went to Napa. We had French Laundry. We eating whatever. Vegas going crazy. So then when I got back, you go ketogenic. Boom, I can drop it pretty fast. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever I put on, I usually can get right back and do my thing. Now my wife found when she was like, I'm gonna go keto with you. And she did it, but she did not feel the same on the ketogenic diet as I did. So then she started researching, of course, blood types and basically saying that depending on your blood type, you should maybe be eating a certain type of diet. Like I think I might have been O positive, which was a more meat favorable diet, if you see what I'm saying. And so she ate like the same thing I ate and she was like, yo, I feel horrible. My digestion is all off. I'm like, when I'm on keto, I'm talking about I'm as regular as the paper man. You know what I'm saying? So how important is it that we know our blood type as it relates to what we're getting ready to eat and pay attention to that factor as well?
Yeah, so this is why I love talking with you guys. I could tell stories that I don't usually tell. When I went in to see all these different publishers for this particular book, it was like a little bit of a bidding war to get me, that's trying to sign me. And one of the publishers, I remember very clearly, they were like, they had all these keto books on their wall. And they were like, so what kind of diet are you going to, talk about in this book? Keto is really hot right now. And I mean, I honestly, the feeling that I felt a little bit insulted because I knew what they're doing. They're leveraging a wave of a certain framework. And this is the thing, keto is incredibly effective for some people. This really boils down, and your wife and you is a perfect example that all of us are unique. The problem is that, a lot of and these are my friends, the person who is on like literally the face of the keto diet, the face of the vegan diet, the face of the carnivore diet, the face of the paleo diet. These are my friends. And what generally happens is coming into it, it's not even them who become zealots. It's the people who follow it. And they become so hardcore believing that this is how everybody's supposed to eat that they start to put everybody into a box, including themselves. And oftentimes, and I've seen this play out long term, many of them end up hurting themselves trying to adhere to a specific framework. And here's the truth. And this is why it was so demanding for me in creating Eat Smarter. This is it's sort of an anti-diet book because I'm very resistant to telling you exactly what to eat. I want to give you the tools and strategies and insights for you to understand what to eat for you, which is likely going to change throughout your lifetime, what's going to work. And also understanding that all of these diet frameworks can have value. And the reason that these different proponents use these diets is they've seen success. They've seen people heal. They've seen people finally lose the weight. They've seen people, autoimmune conditions dissolve. They've seen these great success stories with their patients. That's why they're an advocate for it. It's not like they're trying to bash the other thing. But what happens is, and this is the truth, what you hear about are the stories, and what they leverage are the minority of people, because most people don't get results on their particular diet framework when following it to the T, because we're all so metabolically different. And what I call is a unique metabolic fingerprint. We can use these frameworks, but we don't want them to become a prison for us, and we got to be able to get that feedback. So you mentioned blood type. That's just, and again, even taking the blood type is taking it and putting it into a framework that you follow that to the T, and you can, and for most people, they're not going to get the results because I already mentioned the microbiome diversity. We got blood type diversity. We've got endocrine system diversity. Are they post-menopause, for example? Like there's all of these different factors that make you up. And we don't even understand a quarter of them yet. So each of these iterations that's going to keep coming out, it's just going to be a part of the human health story. And so with that said, man, it's really about, you're going to have a little bit of experimentation. But I think the greatest thing, like somebody like yourself, like your transformation is remarkable, and finding that thing that works for you and you just keep in your bag. And also, I want to make this clear too. It's not about being perfect, by the way. We live in an environment where you're gonna come across a donut. It's just you're gonna interact with it, But the question is that the exception or the rule? Because in reality, like that food it's not really real. It's so detached from reality and from what we evolved eating that your body, we can engage with it and everything, your body can kind of clean it up and, have a good time, have some flavor, experience, enjoy it. But at the same time, if we make that the rule where we're doing that on a consistent basis, interacting with fake foods, which for me, that was every day, almost every single meal of my life. I was making myself out of that. And this is why at the age of 20, I'm diagnosed with a severe advanced degenerative spinal disease and arthritic condition, a disease of a very old age. I had an old age disease while I was a kid because I had accelerated the aging process. Because again, this really boils down to what are your genes going to do in response to the exposures that you're giving it, right? So, with all that said, and just to go back to Carl's question, I gotta answer this really quickly. What I'm really passionate about, and right now more than ever, is like, let's fix this thing from the top down, which is what's controlling your decisions, what's controlling what your body's doing, what's controlling your endocrine system, the hormones you're producing. Your brain is a master controller. We're talking about it's the president, the governor sitting up in your skull, determining so much about what's happening downstream, right? So really quick, I want to share this with you guys. There's people talk about your brain is mostly fat, but I don't think people really get it because it's not just any type of fat. There's 3 specific types of fat that your brain is made of. These are structural fats. So these are not the types of fat that you can burn for fuel per se, because you wouldn't want during a time of scarcity, food scarcity, for your body to use your brain for fuel. All right. That would be bad. That would be bad news. And so there are 3 types of fat. Number 1, phospholipids. All right. Phospholipids. These are incredibly important because these help to manage not just the structural integrity of our brain, but also manage our cognitive ability, our ability to focus, our ability to manage our emotions. But phospholipids are present throughout our entire body, but much more so inside of our brain. And what they do is they give our brain cells shape, strength, and elasticity. So we want our brain cells to be strong and robust because a lot of time, for the most part, the brain cells that we have right now are the ones we need to make it with to the end of the line for us. Our brain is very different from the rest of our bodies. We got to take care of those brain cells. So we want them to have strength and adapt and to be able to adapt. So that plasticity to be there. And phospholipids are almost made entirely out of omega-3s, which I could talk about, come back in a moment. But I want to share this study with you guys. So this is a randomized placebo-controlled trial. So this means we give people a specific thing to see what happens. It's not guessing. We're not just like observing in the environment, like maybe they did this. It looks like these people did that. This specifically happened and was monitored. So it's a randomized placebo-controlled double-blind trial. And they found that the consumption of phospholipids helped people to improve their attention span and improve their reaction time. But here's the key. It did this when they put them under stress. So they put them under stress and it improved their attention under stress. We are stressed out right now.
Right.
What if there was something that you can add in nutritionally that can improve your attention and your reaction time and your performance when you're under stress? And so that's objectively monitored, but subjectively, the tested participants found that they had less anxiety, participation anxiety, which is a big thing today, and a heightened sense of mental energy. All right, so where do we get phospholipids? So these are phospholipids. These are fat compounds. And your body can make some of these things, but they're mostly found in omega-3s. I mean, combined with omega-3s, but phospholipids can be found in certain foods specifically. So we got, also a breakdown, by the way, I'm just going to throw this out there. Phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylcholine, those are other types of phospholipids, by the way. But you're going to find phospholipids in a myriad of different foods. Salmon, now this is going to sound crazy, so I'll give the common ones first. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, fatty fish, all right? It's going to be a good source of phospholipids. But most phospholipids is more dense in fish eggs than in the fish itself. All right, so salmon
we
roe.
was eating caviar at French Laundry.
Oh, yeah, we were.
There you go.
Wow.
This is part of the reason that it's so expensive is that people found this out a long time ago, that it's so great for all these different biological functions. So caviar, salmon roe is salmon eggs, but also egg yolks. So same thing with eggs. With eggs is the egg yolk. Actually, there's probably the biggest source of phospholipids in the average diet is going to be found in the egg yolk. So there's about 10,000 milligrams of phospholipids in just 100 grams of egg yolk. All right, so those are some places to find phospholipids. I'll pass it back to you and then we can talk about the other 2 types of fats.
This podcast is being sponsored by BetterHelp. Look, COVID-19, a year ago, y'all, everybody was just minding their business, living life, and then boom, everything changed. I mean, everything. People got sick, lost their jobs, lost family members, the economy took a nosedive, and normal wasn't a thing anymore. Things like going to the movies, out to lunch or dinner, traveling, shopping in the mall, visiting friends and family, those simple, ordinary things were snatched from us all by a 5-letter virus. I'll be real with you. Being isolated from everyday life, virtual this and virtual that, Zoom calls and meetings with no physical interaction, it began to take its toll, y'all, for real. So listen to me, if you've ever felt like the walls were closing in and everything was just too much, maybe it's time you talk to somebody about it, right? That's where our friends at BetterHelp come in. Listen, mental health is just as important as physical health. And BetterHelp has the people and the tools in place to help you make sense of the things weighing you down. Just so we're clear, BetterHelp is not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online. When you join, you'll get a timely and thoughtful response from your own personal therapist. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in another uncomfortable waiting room again. Sometimes we carry a weight that's not ours to bear. BetterHelp will not only teach you how to maintain what's yours better, they help you drop what isn't. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. So do me a favor, visit their website, read their testimonials, and join over 1 million people who have taken their mental health with the help of an experienced professional to another level. And listen to me, for just being a loyal supporter of ours, the Secret to Success podcast, you'll get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/success. Again, that's betterhelp.com/success.
No, that's good. And I got that. That's all of this is in the book, by the way. Y'all need to definitely go check out the book. It's all in the book. Talk to us about the other two types. Yeah, please. I mean, our listeners definitely need to hear this.
Awesome. So, and by the way, there's also vegetarian sources you can find phospholipids. So, vegetarian and vegan. So, vegetarian will be milk. It's going to be abundant in phospholipids. Oats, sunflower seeds, has some phospholipids in there too. But, we got to be clear. In my clinical practice, we'll just say 10 years ago, I knew the importance of omega-3s because omega-3s help to build phospholipids. But I was telling
so crazy
patients
too, though, Sean. That you think about it, and I don't mean to cut you off, but you think now the big thing is okay, you do the egg whites. You know what I mean? Get rid of the yolk. The yolk is bad for you. You know what I mean? So you get conflicting reports. I see. We were at the hotel yesterday. It's get the egg white omelet. You know what I mean? And it's so right. In your mind, what that does is, okay, yolk is bad.
Yolk is bad.
What you're telling us, right? What you're telling us now is all these healthy fats that can make us, smarter.
Yeah, and I'm going on science and real world data, not these superficial because part of it is the conflict of number one, fat being bad, but also of cholesterol being bad. Which cholesterol is one of the other main types of fat that the brain is made of. All right. So your incredible brain, theoretical physicist Michio Kaku, all right, he's kind of like an Einstein of our day. He said that the human brain is the most complicated object in the known universe. All right, that's powerful, man. That's really powerful, and we all have one. But the question is, how are we treating it? Are we helping it to be the best that it can possibly be? And if we're deficient in the very things that make your brain, we got a problem. All right, so cholesterol is another thing. Cholesterol is actually more concentrated in the human body than anywhere else. And it's about 20% of our bodies. The brain is only about 2% of our mass, but it houses about 20% of our cholesterol. Now, here's the rub, is that cholesterol, for the most part, in your brain is made by your brain itself. It's so important. Your brain makes it on demand. It's like cooking it up at the stove. There are these cells in there. For me, I'm always like, why? How does this happen? Which most folks don't know this, but they're called astrocytes. So if you're looking at your brain like a universe, truly, these astrocytes are like these star-shaped cells that are making cholesterol because it's so important for the structural integrity of the brain. All right, so cholesterol is critical for brain health, and that the third type of fat is called sphingolipids. All right, sphingolipids. And sphingolipids, but specifically, and these function as basically, these are building blocks of our membranes. So these are the protective, and Carl knows about this stuff too. These are
you're taking me back, Sean. You're taking me all the way back. I'm like, man, I know all these terms. I can't tell you what they mean no more, but I know all these terms.
Yes, sir. Same for me. In school, this wasn't brought to life in a way that really made sense for me.
Not at all. No.
And also in school, I was taught that the brain of the cell is the nucleus of the cell. And I know you were too. But now here's the problem with that theory is that if you take the nucleus out of a cell, it's called enucleation, and working alongside, some of the top cell biologists, they've been doing this for decades. but the cell can continue doing many of the same processes and continue to live on for a significant amount of time. If I take your brain out, you no longer exist. So that analogy of calling the nucleus of the cell the brain of the cell is a problem. The cell membrane, brain is in that word, by the way, has this hyper intelligence and a big role in communicating with all the other cells in your body. So it's really an intelligent hub. And sphingolipids really help to make your cell membranes, which is kind of important. So they actually help to change the architecture of your cell to adapt to different conditions. So if you're deficient in sphingolipids, it's obviously a problem. Dense sources of sphingolipids, eggs, again, butter, beef, yogurt. Now, funny enough, rice and sweet potatoes have sphingolipid compounds because, again, your body can take certain compounds and make the things that it needs. We don't have to have an animal product only diet or a plant only diet. We have to do what's right for us as a unique individual. And it's going to depend on how good your body is at converting those things into what the brain needs. And so my point earlier that I was going to make in my clinical practice, I knew the importance of these omega-3s. And so I was having people, pretty much every patient that came into my office, I put them on chia seeds, flaxseed oil, hemp seed oil, all these omega-3 dense plant foods. But I didn't understand one key distinction, which I was still going off my program and was still rattling around my brain from college, which is all of these are the same. Omega-3, that's end of story, but it's not. There are multiple types of omega-3s. The type that makes up your brain cells are DHA and EPA. All right. The type that's coming from plant forms is ALA. It's different. In your body, if you're consuming those, it can convert maybe 10% into what you need for the DHA and EPA. And last thing I'll share on this, one of the most shocking things about what I'm talking about today, and I just want to drive this point home on how important this is. This was published in the journal Neurology. They use MRIs to look at the brain itself, all right? And what they uncovered was that people who had the lowest intake of DHA and EPA, omega-3s, had the highest rate of brain shrinkage, all right? And what it was, about 4 grams a day of DHA is the bare minimum. Below that, accelerated brain shrinkage. The people who had the most shrink-proof brains had about 6 grams of DHA a day. It is that important. Your brain is literally made from this stuff. So there you have it.
No, that's incredible, man. And again, man, thank you not only for coming on here, always keeping it real with us. Y'all don't know, man. I call Sean on the rig. I'm like, yo, what should I be taking? I got everything that I have in there is what Sean told me I should be taking. So man, I always love to have you come on here and share with our audience. Why don't you share with them why Organifi is important from a professional perspective? You know what I'm saying? No fancy segue. Just let them know, obviously, we have that relationship because of you. So why don't you tell them again why we so high on this Organifi over here?
For sure. So I'll use this opportunity. We're talking about the brain right now. And one of the biggest epidemics in our world today that's not being talked about is something called neuroinflammation, brain inflammation. And one of the things that I broke down in Eat Smarter was a really well done meta-analysis looking at how inflammation in the brain is one of the leading causative agents in obesity. So your brain literally throwing off the signaling because your brain is inflamed. And also they found that obesity is causing more brain inflammation. All right. So this is a vicious circle people getting in, and they're trying to cut calories and diet. And nobody's talking about you need to reduce the inflammation in your brain. Which diet is doing that to help to heal the system? And so one of the things that is actually clinically proven to reduce brain inflammation, this was published in the journal PLOS One, Public Library of Science, found that spirulina, one of the main ingredients in Organifi, is able to, number 1, reduce neuroinflammation, and number 2, improve neurogenesis of brain cells, so the creation of new brain cells. All right, that's remarkable. I'm telling you, man, like SpaghettiOs can't do that.
Is it all of them, Sean, or a specific product of Organifi? Would you say?
So the green juice. So the green juice
Hey,
has
Carl, can you send me
spirulina.
some green juice, man?
Oh, no doubt. I got you, Maul.
I just got a new shipment. Thank God.
Hey,
So the
look,
green
hey, for the
juice-
record, real quick, I put a text out right in our group. Hey, what y'all need?
Hey.
C's like green juice. Bet.
Oh,
See, what did
facts.
you just
Quick.
say you got?
Quick,
Then
got my
Ma
green
gonna say,
juice. I
oh,
did.
Carl ain't
I
looking
did.
out for me, Ma. I put it
Oh,
right
yeah.
in the group. Come on, man.
Did I
Yes.
respond?
No, you ain't respond.
Exactly.
That's why you don't have none right now. Anyway, my
Hey,
bad,
Paul,
Sean. Keep going.
because you didn't understand this information. And Sean, for real,
Facts.
the reason why I recommend it, Sean, is because you said it, bruh, and man, it's gonna be hard for people to get. But misinformation, bruh, and it's like we live in a society, and I'm on this heavy. I'm ending it the year with it. I'm starting the beginning of the year off. It's like so many people, and they don't mean any harm, but so many people are being bullied into just stuff, bro. It's like, yo, just because somebody is loud and they're aggressive, you know what I'm saying? That's me. Just because somebody put their foot down and emphatically say stuff, bro, it don't make it truth, bro. And so many people move in this earth, uninformed. You talk about, our culture and our parents and the way we grew up. It's like people tell you to do certain things and you do certain things like, yo, that's not the truth. It's so far from truth. I was sharing with Ma, I found my wife has a bank account. And I don't know why I've never seen this before. Maybe because of Ma, it's new information. I'm paying attention. But she got a lot of money in this account. And I looked at what the interest rate, bro, it was like 0.01. And out of all the money she has in the account, it was like year to date, the interest, like, I don't know, whatever it was like $11.90. I'm like, there's no way possible.
Yeah.
It's no way possible that it's $11. But I felt good because I had been sharing with Dee Dee some information Ma had given me, maybe, second quarter, something, first quarter, second quarter. And I made some adjustments as a result of it in the other accounts. And I just was like, yo, I learned this from my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Who I got mad love for, mad respect for. But he taught me, put money in the safe, in the mattress. So I'm putting it in the bank, think I'm doing something. And so I really want to encourage y'all because to Sean's point, when you start saying that, Sean, like, and you said it, like, bro, ain't nobody gonna be perfect, right? But I and this is internal, like, this ain't like I'm not the dude, bro. I'm like, I don't change because of like I'm not the low self-esteem dude. So like, I'm not about to be choked out of Cheeto Puffs. You feel me? But Sean, when you said it, like I actually went and looked at the back of it and stopped eating them because I saw like dye.
Yep.
I ain't tripping on like, well, it is what it is, bro. Like I don't have no health problems. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never been on medication. I ain't never had surgery. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never had high cholesterol. You feel me? So I don't have health problems. Not, I'm not lifting weights, but I'm saying internally, I don't have health problems. I've never gone to the doctor, got a bad report. I ain't never been on medication. Like I've never had to take anything in life, right? So for me, like that's my goal. When Ma said for each house, you got to have a goal. My goal is to literally go to the hospital and when they do my blood work and all of that, I just want to be clean. Like that's my goal. I want to live long, right? But when you said that, and I grew up in a church, bro, like our church preach health. Like I'm a part, if that's one thing about Seventh-day Adventists, bro, they don't play when it comes to their health, bro. Like I went to a university where we don't say, the stuff you talking about, like they've been on that since 18 something, right? But there's certain things that I don't eat, certain things I don't do, and I think those things have aided. But when you talked about stuff being fake, like I never heard that before. Like I never got that message before. So I'm looking at the Cheeto Puffs like, yo, bruh, this is orange dye. Like flat out, bro. Like this is
it ain't even food. It ain't no food.
And
It
again,
ain't even cheese.
bro, it ain't
Right, it ain't even cheese.
It ain't nothing. Sean, I can't tell you the last time, and it's cultural. And I mean that in my house. I used to eat Snickers so much that my daughter, for like every holiday, my daughter would give me Snicker bars. I ain't had a Snicker bar, bro, in about 2-3 years. You know what I'm saying? And it's because I'm feeling what you're saying. It's like, yo, eat. So, you know, and again, like, please read and study, y'all. So we went to Houston, Sean, and we went to Didi's favorite restaurant. Like, bro, I promise you, I didn't have no fried chicken. I ain't had no macaroni and cheese. I didn't have no candy yet. That's what I eat, bro, when I go. Like, this restaurant got everything. But I went in, Sean, going, all right, I'm gonna eat the banana Fosters. Like, flat out. I'm about to have
Something getting hit.
And I want to make sure people hear this, because I think sometimes people don't, like, I had a guy come to me yesterday and was like, I don't have a why. You know, and he cried out to me like, yo, I'm not you. I don't got that drive you got, E. So there are a lot of people that are listening who kind of give up because they like, yo, I can't do that. And they just quit and give up. And I just want to be real with y'all. Like, I went in, Sean, going, yo, for real, I'm not about to be in Houston and not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm about to eat the banana Fosters. So when I went in, I told my wife and my daughter, I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to order one. And the three of us are going to eat off one. Like, we're not going to do what we did before. Everybody ain't getting their own, right? And we're not adding no extra ice cream to it. Like, we gonna eat this one and we're going to eat it together. So when I went in, and I ain't shame my wife. My wife, like, for real, my wife a beast. Like, she like, what? I ain't on what you on. My wife, like, I'm getting the chicken. I'm getting the macaroni and cheese. And I was like, yo, I'm cool with that. But let's do this. If you're going to do that, y'all split that. So, and again, y'all do whatever y'all want to do. Y'all grown. Like, I ain't gonna tell y'all to live your life. Because I'm gonna be real, Sean. I grew up, when I went to Oakwood, like, we ate whatever. I've chosen, like, I'm not about to eat like that for the rest of my life. Like, I'd rather die at 60 and eat a certain way than live to be 120 and eat. That's just me, Sean. Like, I'm not on that, right? So I just told my wife, like, look, we gonna go in here, but let's try not to, you feel me, do it how we might have done it 3-4 years ago. You feel me? And so,
how was y'all doing it 3-4 years ago, E?
You said 3-4 years ago?
I said, how was y'all doing it 3-4 years ago?
4 years ago, Sean, I'm gonna be real. I eat once a day now. I would eat whatever I wanted to eat, whenever I wanted to eat. Like, I wasn't on that. I wake up in the morning, I eat breakfast. And again, culturally, my uncle, who I love, South Side of Chicago, we ate 3 meals a day, bruh. And we were taught, to be healthy, you need to eat 3 meals a day. That's what my uncle, like, that's what he was on. And he worked at CTA. He made sure before he went to work, bruh, he fixed buses. He made sure we had breakfast. He would put like a lunch to the side, like hot dogs, baked beans, you know, candy for lunch. And then my man would come home, and at 5 o'clock when he got to the crib, he made sure we ate dinner. So I grew up believing culturally that you're supposed to eat 3 meals a day, and that breakfast was supposed to be huge. Like, breakfast was supposed to be the biggest meal of the day. So for me right now, I'm just not in a position where if I eat 3 meals a day the way I did when I was 20 or 30, it just not gonna work out for me. So for me, I like the intermittent boy. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I chose that, Sean, is because I find that I have, when I don't eat like that grits and that eggs, and again, Sean, my mom, I go to the crib, Sean, I go to the crib right now. My mom is gonna sit me down, and we about to get the grits, and we about to get the eggs, bro. We about to get my mom about to make the sausage. We about to get toast. We about to get what do you call it? Potatoes.
Sugar in the grits, or butter, salt and pepper?
Salt and pepper. I never had sugar in my grits in my life. I don't know what it tastes like. I gotta try.
Fire. CJ, we agree on something?
Oh, I love, sugar grits.
We agree on something.
History is made.
There we go.
History is made.
Fire.
You know why I say that? Because somebody said sugar grits, and I said, ugh. And they asked me, Sean, have you ever had it? I said, no. So I was saying, to some, Sean,
you ain't even know, right?
I ain't never had it a day in my life. But the reason why I said, is because my mom said, and my grandma said, My grandma's like, don't you ever put sugar in your grits. So I say,
Kool-Aid only.
Right.
right.
That's what she did. So I say that to say, Sean, But the intermittent works for me because the energy, like I got a lot of energy in the day. And I find that when I used to do the big breakfasts, I did. Like I find myself tired or sleepy. You know what I'm saying? Then, about an hour or two later, I was good to go. But now I can get up, come to work, do my thing, and then we do a dinner. Like we eat at night, 5, 6 o'clock when we get home. That's when we decide, to eat. But I'm just saying to those of you that are out there, what I've had to do is say, yo, I ain't no sweets dude, bruh. If you don't have to do it, don't do it. Like I eat Snickers, just I don't know, Sean. They just good. I like the way it tastes. But like I don't have to have candy. Like that's not my thing. I don't have to do sweets. So for those of you who are out there, if you know it's fake and you don't have to do it, my thing is if you have an addiction, like fight that addiction head on. But if it's not an addiction, don't let it become an addiction. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't treat something that's not an addiction and like it's addiction. I don't have an addiction to Cheeto Puffs, Sean. I can go without eating them.
Right.
But eggs, listen to me, bro. I eat eggs every single day. Like, and again, like I said, my mom never gave me Cheeto Puffs. She never gave me Snicker bars, but she gave me eggs, and I eat eggs every day. And here's my problem, Sean. I ain't never had a cholesterol problem. I've never gone to the doctor and they like, you hear people say that, bro, if you eat eggs, you're going to die. You're going to have cholesterol. I've never had, I've never. I eat at least 2 eggs a day. Since I've been homeless. Well, since
hey, let me say this real quick. That was education for me because my grandpa died, my mom's dad died of prostate cancer, and his diet was eggs, meat, fish. Right. And my mom was like, we ain't eating eggs, meat, fish.
Fish, right.
Like, I'm talking about not that we never ate it, but it was like, no, we can't eat too much of that. So 1 egg a week. And when I met E, I was like, oh, E gonna die soon. Like, I don't know if E gonna be out of here. E gonna be out of here in a minute.
That was from the Cheeto Puffs, though, not the eggs.
Right.
Yeah,
and
ahead,
also,
but that's real.
I want to share this real quick. I put into Eat Smarter a big meta-analysis looking at people who had heart attacks, heart disease, dying from these conditions. 75% of the folks who passed away with these conditions didn't even have high cholesterol. And so cholesterol is demonized as the causative agent, the large causative agent to heart disease, when in actuality, if you bear out and look at the data, it's not measuring up to what's believed to be. And by the way, this also just coupling with what we talked about in relationship to, you mentioned really having a why. Your why is very similar to mine. Like I value feeling good. I value performing. And so that's kind of what guides my decisions because, and I'll share this with you guys, my wife's friend just came into town, her best friend, to LA, first time out to LA. My wife is a planner, so she had it all locked down. We going to Tao, we doing this thing. We had Javier's. We out here doing all of this, dining, whining and dining, but I typically don't partake, you know what I mean? And I'm not, but here's the thing, I'm not denying myself either. I'm here to have a good time. Trust me. And this is the thing about finding that blend of what tastes good and what feels good as well. But my wife, she went a little harder. All right. She definitely went harder, very similar. And then when her friend left, boom, she got sick, that same day. And she just now, it's a week later, she's just now kind of recovering, getting over from it, because for me, but again, I'm just making decisions. For me, there's a piece there of like, I value feeling good. I want to make sure that I feel good, and also for me, I see this is my responsibility because I'm making so many decisions out here for us and helping us to modulate and move in a very strange world. I just feel like I just want to be on top of my game. Yep. So I'm going to have a good time. And if I do have a little dabble of this, dabble of that, I'm just going to make sure that I still maintain my sense of balance and my own personal integrity.
That's why I'm saying study, Sean, because when you're not educated, it's secondhand smoke.
Yep.
Like you're listening to what somebody else is saying, and it may or may not work for you. And like you said, a why, bro. My biggest why, Sean. Didi has talked to you. She got all the stuff in there now, Omega, whatever. But my biggest thing, Sean, is like, bro, I ain't been sick. I ain't get COVID. I ain't get a cold. But I eat from my wife. I'm like, yo, if I get sick, Didi gonna get sick. You feel me? So in my mind, there's certain things I do and I don't do because I'm trying to make sure that Didi doesn't get sick. And so that's why I'm telling y'all, you need to know what your why is. I know people who are externally solid, but not internally solid. Feel me? Like from a visual standpoint, they looking good. But from an internal standpoint, you know what I'm saying? When the doctors do the research, you got some of your organs, some of your internal stuff ain't right. You feel me? And so we got to study because we need to know. And Sean's book is going to do more than just what food to eat, what not food to eat, but also get you to understand the science behind why you do what you do. Yeah. And then once you know why you do what you do, it's at that point, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, Sean, it's some dudes that I grew up with. They have a different why than me. I'm just being real. One of my whys, I don't want to look like I'm 50. You feel me? Like, there's certain things I eat and I don't eat, certain things I do. So when you look at me visually when I'm speaking, you're not looking at me going, man, eat like he's 55 years old. You look at me and you see youth, right? Why? Because that's a part of what I do. That's a part of my whole swag, right? So I'm telling y'all, like, study to show yourself approved. Study this book. It ain't about what Sean doing. It ain't about what he's studying. No, like, he really about to put you in a position, just like with Maul. I told y'all, my money ain't in the bank no more. It ain't under the mattress no more. And it's doing way better than what it was doing when I had it. Why? Because I was going off of some false information. I was going off of what people around me were doing and not what the science says. More stuff is science. And I've started following it and look at me. See, there was some stuff I was doing when I was just ministering to y'all, but I wasn't. Branding is different than just ministering. And when I started applying those principles, I became #1 in the world. So I'm trying to tell y'all, like, I'm being real. You don't have enough information on your own. I was a good human, praying every day, fasting, paying my tithe, but I wasn't making the money I'm making. I wasn't making the impact I was making. And so God brought people in my life that was like, I was talking to somebody today and I told them something. They're like, oh, you trying to say? I was like, bruh, I'm not saying you got a 90% on the test. But that is still 10% you could work on, though. You ain't got to be pissed because I said something to you. I'm not taking away the 90%. You got an A, but there's still 10% of room for you to grow in. You can get 100%, right? And so this is not I ain't reading that. I already know. I don't need to know. Bro, I'm trying to tell you, in my own personal life, I got some new information, and that information is taking me, man, the distance. Right? It's distant. Sean, this may not be the podcast to say it, but I understand that there's some foods from my body that if I eat, it's going to alter the grown man boy. And I don't eat them. I don't eat them. Now, Sean, you could tell me that same thing about losing 5, 10 pounds. I probably don't. It ain't that deep.
What's your why?
So there's some foods that I heard that could hinder. I'm like, bro, you ain't got to tell me again. I'm have a discussion about it. Why?
Addiction cured.
That's important to me, Sean. It's important to somebody else. But I want to be able to be 80 and not necessarily have to wear a diaper. That's important to me, Sean. I know men who are alive, but because they made certain decisions, they don't have control of their lower extremities based on some decisions they made in their health. And so that's something I think about. You feel me? Like, I'll be real. I don't think about some other thing. But at 50, I am thinking about, I'm researching and doing my homework on what are the things that you can do to make sure when you're 80 or 90 years old, you still have a level of independence. That's important to me. So please read this book, do your homework. Don't be cocky. Don't be conceited. You know everything. Hey, if you pick up this book and get 2 different principles, it will be worth it, because the one thing Sean taught me, I'm not an aesthetic dude, Sean. Like, when you do your research on me, like, we took these tests, I'm not an aesthetic dude. Like, that's just not my thing. I don't look at something and go, oh, watch this though, Sean. I do want to live long and have a healthy life. And you said something, AE, every time you get on that treadmill, every time you go walk, every time you get your sleep, every time you get your rest, you're adding years to your life. And so now when I get on the treadmill, I don't think about, man, I got to do this mile, this 2 miles. Sometimes now, Sean, I will do 1 mile, stop and walk and get back and do another one. I never used to do that before. Why? Because I felt like, man, I can't run 3 miles what does that say about me? Now I run that mile and I go, you just extended Didi's, if Didi gonna be around, your kids, your grandkids, like you just extended your life, E. 5-mile walk. I remember when you said that, it's like, E, you ain't gotta run. If you go walk every day, you extending your life expectancy. And so find out, like Maul said, man, by that, Maul said it the other day, E, what you trying to do? I was like, he's like, but what are you doing it for, E? Like, I know the church wants to save money, but E, what are you doing it for? I was like, Maul, we just a church. We just want money. He's like, no, E. What are the church's goal for this money? Because if you don't know what that is, I can't help you. And I was like, all right, let me go back. Because I don't know, Maul. I don't know what I want more money for the church. I don't. You feel me? So if you're watching, you're listening, man, get the book. This could be a year extra on your life, 5 years extra on your life, 5 years that's going to be on your life, but healthier on your life. And you have more autonomy and more independence. You know what I'm saying? So read the book, get the information, man, and be like your boy E.T. Grow every day. Grow, 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 grow.
Yes.
Hey, Sean, I just want to say thanks too, man. I remember when it first came out, and I told you, I picked it up for my family. And, you know, my family, man, my mom, she loved, and my mother's watching the podcast right now, by the way. So, you know, she loves the book, man, her and my dad. And she even changed, just like he said, it's just how we've been raised. It's just what you see. It's generational, right? Just the food. And, you know, she's changed a lot of, you know, the way she cooks food, the way she prepares food, the type of food she purchases. And, you know, now they're, you know, getting up there in age, and it's important, man. So, no, I appreciate it, man. And just thank you for that. You know, you've actually, just through your knowledge and your discipline, it has blessed my family. The exposure thing is priceless, bro. So, man, appreciate you.
Make sure y'all pick it up.
I know we on the Eats boy, but Gersh, I just want to shout Gersh out, man. Sean, just like you, this brother is like physical therapist, and he's so knowledgeable. And man, like you said, Sean, I'm learning so much, man. My man was showing me some stuff, and everybody was like, why you limping? I'm like, I don't feel like I'm limping. And he was just like, E, you flat-footed, but we could do this because you messing up your knee, which is gonna mess up your hip. And he was like, yo, you killing it now because you so strong. You got a strong will. But it's like, yo, I'm looking at your body, bro. He was like, flat out, 10, 15 years from now, you're gonna have to get a hip replacement, you know, or you're gonna have to get a knee replacement. And so we're gonna do some exercise on your toes. My man showed me his knee, and then he did my knee, Sean. He was like, I was like, whoa. He was like, the range of motion, bro. Like, bruh, you should be able to pull your stuff all the way out here. He was like, look how flat-footed you are. He took a picture of me walking and showed me, this is what it looks like. This is what it should look like. He was like, you flat-footed. Ain't nothing you could do about that, but it is something you could do about it if you stretch. But me, Sean, my whole life, I'm like, stretch? I ain't got time for that. You know what I'm trying to run. I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying, push up, sit up. Like, I ain't got time for that. And brothers like yourself, I don't have time to learn all of that. I swear I don't. So for if you're listening, you ain't got time to learn all stuff Sean learned. It ain't enough time in the day to get that. But here's somebody that can give you that for a small investment. You can get that information from him and utilize it in your life. In the last 2 days, I ain't gonna lie, Sean, I'm at least an hour 15 today, almost an hour and a half of stretching. Why? Because I don't want to just be 100. I want my original hip. You feel me? I just don't want to walk. I want my original knees, bro. Like I don't want no rod or nothing in my knee. I want to be able to have my original knee. I want to have all my body parts when I die, the original boys. And he was like, well, if you're willing to do this, you can do it. So Sean is saying, if you're willing to care about what you eat and what you put in your body, what is it, Sean? Ferraris, I think it's a Ferrari or whatever, like they don't put 86 octane in that joker. You got to put 93. And what Sean is going to teach us is based on who we are, what to put in our system. Because, yeah, you can have a fancy car, but if you're putting the wrong oil in it, you're putting the wrong gas in it, you're tearing the doggone vehicle up. So for those of us who've been blessed, let's put the right stuff in our bodies, y'all.
Carl, that's the name of the podcast, Original Hips.
Original hips. I'll
exactly.
take it. Hey, no, I was just gonna say super quick. Most of us take better care of our car probably than we do our body, and I'll leave that there. And you could get another car. Like most of us, you do your oil change. Even just people tell you, but like, come on, y'all, there ain't no reduce with this.
Eat smarter. That's Sean Stevenson. This is his book. It's a bestseller. He's a family member. Go pick it up, Sean. Thank you, man. We appreciate you. Sorry for keeping you so long, especially with, you know what I'm saying, me taking forever on the front end. That's about 3 hours. So we know how valuable your time is, man. We appreciate y'all. And seriously, man, to everybody listening, listen, we say it, you know, we joke around on this podcast, but listen, we eat smarter. We all hold each other accountable daily. Y'all hear us joking, and some of y'all take it, oh, see you tomorrow. Like, no, at see you tomorrow, checking on each other daily to make sure we eating correct and make sure we exercising. This a role we play for the podcast. We have a friendly rivalry, but in real life, we are all brothers holding each other accountable. This podcast ain't the same if one of us go down, if one of us gets sick. So we're holding each other accountable daily. So this is our attempt to hold you accountable as well, your family. Hopefully you got something out of it. Go pick up the book, Eat Smarter with Sean Stevenson, available wherever books are sold. Go online and get it. Follow Sean. Give him your socials one time for the new listeners who haven't.
Can we get it though? Can we get it from you? I want to give the people whoever bought the conference, the one on the 25th, 120. I want to get 120 books for the 100.
Okay, well, look, there we go.
Love it.
Get that from you, Sean.
Let's go. We'll make it happen for sure.
So I'm gonna buy.
We need the wholesale price, Sean, for the 120. I don't want the target price.
120 people that signed up for the conference.
Wow. Dope.
Facts. I love it. You know, so the Instagram is at Sean Model, SHAWN Model. And I just appreciate you guys. This is always a highlight of the month to hang out with my family. And, you know, even though we don't talk all the time, I think about you guys often, give gratitude for you guys daily. And, you know, E really said it. This is not just about extending our lifespan, but our health span, you know, because the truth is right now in our culture, we're not necessarily living longer. We're dying longer, you know, and we're just kind of just limping our way to the finish line when we have so many incredible examples of what's possible with people thriving, you know, like we still, the majority of folks listening, we got so much more life to live. And, you know, I just actually talked with E's mom the other day, Mama T, and she's doing incredible as well.
Oh,
you know,
man.
She came into the game.
She aging backwards, bruh.
Hey, listen, and all she did was apply some very simple principles. Eat Smarter is inclusive. Whether we're on a vegetarian protocol, whether we're on an omnivorous protocol, paleo protocol, this is what it needs. We need to stop having this silly infighting about minutia when the majority of our citizens are dying. You know, we need to get on the principles of what is effective across the board. Very simple stuff. And so she's been able to manage her blood sugar without the need for metformin anymore. And also you mentioned like she's going to throw down in the kitchen. It's all good. We can still eat good. But it's what we're doing overall and having these very simple principles to put our bodies in alignment with what health looks like. You know, and at the end of the day, that's what it's about, man. Very, very simple, but very, very powerful at the same time.
Yo, Mom, she got Sean. She brought me some doggone Garrett's popcorn. I was like, Mom, why you bring me this, Garrett, if I can't eat this?
Exactly. Hey, Sean, appreciate you, dog. Everybody,
Yes,
120 conference, September is going down. E is like a caged lion. I promise you. I don't know what he's about to say at that joint, but I wouldn't miss it if I was you. It's going down, 120 conference. Go get your tickets now, ASAP, all right? It's selling out fast. We want to make sure we got that. Sean, blessings to you and the family, bro. We out of here. We'll see you next week.
I'm coming to see you.
I want you to focus on here right now. Don't you worry about when you get home. You make this, you concentrate on this opportunity. You don't worry about tomorrow. You concentrate on this opportunity with all your might, with all your soul.